Namaste and welcome to today's session. We are just a week away from Jayaji's UK tour. From 12th to 22nd June, Jayaji will be speaking in Nottingham, Leicester, London, Peterborough, and Essex. These are rare in person opportunities to experience Vedanta in its purest, most practical form. The entire UK itinerary is available on our website vedantavision.org. If you have friends or family in the UK, invite them to attend and be part of this journey. For regular updates on the talk, join the UK WhatsApp community. The link to join the community is in the description box. Today is our last session before Jayaji's trip to the UK. We will resume the webinars once Jayaji is back. Follow Vedanta Vision on Instagram and Facebook during this time to stay inspired while the webinars are paused. We now return to today's online class as Jayaji continues chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
So last time we looked at the famous verse from chapter 3 which deals with sacrifice. Now all of us are born with a certain talent, an expertise, a particular skill that's inborn, and that is called swadharma. Now in life it is most important to identify your swadharma because you can excel only in the field of your swadharma. If you choose a field alien to your nature, you may think you're successful, but compared to what you would have been in your swadharma, it's nothing. And then once you identify your swadharma, what is your motivation to act? Every morning when we wake up and go to work, what is our motivation? That I don't have enough of whatever. I don't have enough money, I don't have a big enough home, I don't have a luxurious enough car, so on and so forth, and I must earn or work to get it. So this is called deficiency motivation, and this has nothing to do with reality. The richest person in the world may think deficiency. The poorest person in the world may think abundance. So abundance is when you are not looking at what you don't have, you're looking at all the things that you have been blessed with, most of which you receive for free. And then you develop this very strong urge to give back, to repay, to all the elements that have given you in the first place. So, if you use your talent and you only leverage it for personal profit and pleasure, you're looking only at how to monetize your skill. So the motive is only profit. Then your mind is very small, you're looking at very small things, little things, and you don't achieve much, you don't achieve success. But the same you, with the same talent, the same intelligence, the same IQ, the same opportunities or the lack of it, you decide to contribute your talent for a larger cause, whatever it be. I remember in the 1962 war with China, every homemaker was knitting sweaters for the Jawans. And I was very young then, but I still remember that spirit among the women, that I'm doing something worthwhile, you know. And many of what they knitted may have been useless. Much of it may not have gone to the people for whom it was being done, but there was a purpose behind it. And that made all the difference. So the question is, what is your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? When your vision expands, you automatically gain success because you think creatively, you think out of the box, you're happy doing whatever you're doing. So your mind is not agitated. You are successful and you grow. All the great people in the world have had purpose. What is your purpose? It can't be just making money. And you know, the tragedy in life is that the smartest people in the world, the most intelligent people in the world, the people with all the opportunities like IIT, IIM, this, that and the other, are only looking at what? Money. What a pity. And that is why the world is in the condition that it's in. But if you shift still further and you understand this talent of mine is not mine, it's been gifted to me by some power, I don't know who gave it. And every time you act, you offer that as your gratitude, your thanksgiving to the power that has gifted it to you in the first place. Then it makes for perfection. Even if it is a simple thing like selling an item or, I don't know, making tea for someone or cooking, whatever it is, simple acts. But when they are committed or they are performed with this tremendous attitude of gratitude, then whatever you do becomes perfect. You are tremendously happy and you grow spiritually. You get to enlightenment. So, and then you are filled with this generosity. It is so nice to feel generous. You know, Shakespeare has written of Desdemona, who's pictured by him as the purest specimen of humanity in Othello's wife, Desdemona. He speaks of her and he says, she considered it a vice in her virtue that she did not give more than what was solicited. You know, somebody comes to you and says, can you please help? Give 5,000 rupees as help to someone who's suffering. And you give 5,000 rupees. It's not that you don't give. But you go back thinking, Arey, I should have given more. That is generosity. That makes for purity. How many of us think like that? Huh? If you so much as even suspect that somebody is going to come and ask you for something, you run for your life. So there are three types of action. Selfish, we all know what it is. And that leads to mediocrity. So because the bulk of people in the world are selfish, the majority of actions in the world are mediocre. Then comes unselfish. where you dedicate yourself to a higher cause and you don't compromise with quality because you're doing it for others. You're not doing it for yourself. So this leads to enthusiasm, excitement, you become energetic, creative, and your vision expands. And selfless is where you become transparent. Your mind and intellect are not full of selfish ideas, planning, scheming, manipulating for your benefit and for other people's downfall. So you become transparent, and then what happens? The perfection that is within you, Atman, shines forth in whatever you do. Even if you don't do anything, it shines. Like Ramana Maharshi only sat most of his time, but he attracted people from all over the world. How? With his purity. So purity of heart, purity of mind, clarity of thinking, and just not having selfish motive becomes the most powerful magnet in the world. You attract people to you. Even if you don't do anything. It's not that you have to do any earth-shattering things. You don't have to do anything, because everything is being done anyway. So you allow Atman to flow, and then you reach effortless excellence. You see this in the, you should expose yourself to things. Like we have YouTube, we have so many facilities that were not there before. If you wanted to listen to outstanding music, you had to go to a concert, you had to find a person who was performing. Now you just have to go to YouTube. Listen to outstanding performances by Ustad Vilayat Khan on the sitar, Pandit Ravi Shankar, vocalists, just anything. And you see the effortlessness with which they play. Ustad Bismillah Khan. And the amazing thing about Bismillah Khan was, he always had a smile on his face when he was performing. So there was no effort. He enjoyed his performance. He enjoyed having people with him. Amazing person. So you must expose yourself to this, perfection in whatever way, in whatever field you are interested in. A simple thing like gift wrapping. Do you know it's an art? Have you seen someone gift wrap effortlessly? Once, many years ago, I went to this store where they had employed a person only to gift wrap parcels. And she did it so magnificently. I said, my God, how did you do it? So it's like that. You allow Atman to flow. And that Atman is inside you all the time, is with you all the time. You're just not allowing it to manifest. Nowadays, this manifestation has become a popular word. But what they mean by manifestation is selfishness. Your desires you want manifested. No, just allow Atman to flow. And why is it that they tell us not to be selfish? Because the law is give, you gain. Grab, you lose. The phenomenon of color exemplifies it. The gentleman there is wearing yellow. What makes it yellow? When white light falls on it, it absorbs all other colors except yellow. So we all know yellow is the only color it does not have. It reflects it. But when we look at it, what do we say? It is yellow. Similarly, you are what you give, not what you grab. And it cannot come through compulsion. Because it is not what you give that matters. It is how you give it. It's how you feel about it. And how can that be enforced? You can't force a person to have it. No? And we are so comfortable receiving things for free. You should feel uncomfortable getting anything for free. Because then it imposes an obligation on you to give back. Not in the same manner, it's not business. In some manner, some way. Like Shabari gave a few berries, handful of berries to Lord Rama. But it's not the berries that she gave her heart and soul. If you give that, you will get what she got. What did she get? Enlightenment. Then we are constantly looking at what's in it for me. What percentage do I get? What is my commission? What is my remuneration? What is my thing? You know, the truth is, you will get, whether you like it or not, you will get the return for what you have paid already, what you have worked already. It has to come to you. So you don't have to worry about that. What you have to worry about is whether you deserve it and how much do you deserve. And selfishness is not an option because it has diminishing returns. The law of diminishing returns functions. Every second contact with the same object, every successive contact with the same object gives you less and less pleasure. Till you reach a stage where it gives you zero pleasure, nothing. So you shift to something else, something else, something else. And then you reach a stage where it's a stalemate. Nothing gives you pleasure, nothing excites you. Horrible state to be in, and that leads to depression. The mind is always distressed. When you're a selfish person, the mind will be in stress. The mind will be unhappy, insecure. So why do you want that? So last time we had ended with verses 14 and 15, which spoke of how yajna, or the capacity to sacrifice or sacrificial actions, are the center, is the fulcrum of the whole universe. How does Brahman manifest in the world? Through yajna. How do you go back to Brahman? Through yajna. So you can't escape it. Now, he gives in verse 16 what happens when you don't live like that. Now he gives the exceptions to this law. And the exceptions are laid out in verses 17 and 18. We'll do 17 first.
यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते.
But the one who delights in the self, is fulfilled in the self, and is supremely content in the self alone, has no duty to perform. So, this is an exception to what? Yajna, sacrificial action. Action itself. So why are you performing action? Because you want to get back to your original state. You know, like a coiled spring. You've seen a coiled spring? Let's say the coil spring is, its natural state is 4 feet high. You, with your palm, you push it down to 1 foot. What happens? There's pressure on your palm to go back to its original state. You release it to 2 feet, what happens? Pressure reduces, but it's still there. 1 foot, pressure reduces still further, but it's there. Now you go back to the original state of 4 feet. What happens? No pressure. So here he is talking about that person who's gone back to his original state. Original state is self-realization. In that condition, there is nothing that he wants. There is no duty to perform because he wants nothing from the world. See, duty becomes imposed on you when there is a dependence. You depend on your family members, you have a duty towards them. Where there is no dependence, there is no duty. So he uses 3 words, Atma Trupti, Atma Tushti and Atma Rati. 3 words because we seek happiness through 3 avenues, body, mind, intellect. At all 3 levels and beyond, he is content, fulfilled, satisfied. So, these exemptions from various rules you see in the world. In the past, there used to be royal kingdoms. So, the king was exempt from the law of the land. The king formulated the laws for the land. But he was exempt. Nobody could punish him for violating a law. Why? Because it was assumed that the king would follow the law. Therefore, he was above the law. And here, a realized person is one who is not dependent on the world, so therefore he need not act. Then there are poets and writers who are masters in the language, whichever language they write in. They are exempt from rules of grammar. Like Shakespeare, famous statement by Shakespeare when he is showing exactly where Brutus stabbed Caesar. And he says, and that was the most unkindest cut of all. What is wrong with that statement? 2 superlatives are used in the same sentence, which is against the rules of grammar. If you and I use a sentence like that, you will get minus marks. But Shakespeare didn't. Because he was such a master in the language that it is impossible that he would make mistakes, errors. So he wanted to get it across that it was such a gruesome act, such a horrible act, that Brutus, Caesar's own friend, that Caesar had complete faith in him and he loved him dearly. He was the one who actually stabbed him. And he said, this was the most unkindest cut of all. It's such a fabulous sentence. It gets it across. Your hair stands on end when you listen to it, when you get into the spirit of it. So, exemptions. So, in every field there are exemptions. Poets are exempt. So, now the question is, how do you get there? How do you get to that state? Through every perception, emotion and thought. Never forget that which enables you to perceive, to feel, to think. So, through every action which is outward, you are drawing your mind inward, your focus inward. So, there are multiple transactions, but single focus. When you trace all your experiences back, you go back to only that one thing, Atman. It's like earthing all your experiences to Atman. You know, an electrical gadget cannot function. You can't use that electrical gadget unless there is earthing. Right? If there is no earthing, what would happen? Electricity would flow through you and you'd get electrocuted. You know, in England, I went to a place called Bristol. In the room that they gave me during my stay there, they said the host, his sister, died there because all she did was try to switch on the bedside lamp. Next thing you know, she is electrocuted, dead. So during my stay there for 2 days, I didn't touch that bedside lamp. I said, I'd rather go in the dark, but I'm not going to switch that on. But you know, that's a simple thing like that. So, unless your worldly experiences, your life experiences have earthing to Atman, you are going to get shocks. Knocks and shocks of life you will experience because there is no earthing. Once there is earthing, nowadays everything has earthing. You don't even think twice before using a gadget, right? So that's what it is. Omar Khayyam said that this was a book of verse, a glass of wine, and thou beside me sitting in the wilderness. And wilderness becomes paradise. So, a glass of wine, physical experience, a book of verse, intellectual, and thou beside me, emotional thrill. All of this is like wilderness, but it becomes paradise when you earth it to Atman. Beautiful way of saying it. See, the different poets, different writers, different people through their own experiences, through their own talents have said the same thing. And then verse 18.
नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः.
That person has no reason to act or not to act and does not depend on anyone for anything. What a statement. You can't even imagine being like that. Huh? Imagine. You have no reason to act or even not to act. And you don't depend on anyone for anything. What power there must be in that person. So, you can only use examples to understand what it's like. So, let's say for instance, last night you had a dream. And the dream was that you won the jackpot somewhere and you had millions of dollars. You owned millions of dollars. And you bought a property on top of a hill overlooking the ocean and huge property and gardens and this, that and the other, and interior designing was done and it has just been completed and the keys of the house handed over to you. And you moved all your stuff to the house and you had a housewarming party on that weekend. And it's a Sunday morning, glorious day, bright sunshine, nice cool weather, and everybody started coming in and you went out to greet the people. And as you went out to greet people, you tripped and fell on the stairs. Where is all this happening? In the dream. Now what happens when you fall on the steps? You wake up. You wake up and you realize it's the same bed you're sleeping in, same room, no magnificent mansion, no jackpot, no nothing. No cooking pot also. Having woken up, however magnificent that mansion was in the dream, would you want to go back into the dream? No. Why? Because you know that entire thing was a figment of your imagination. Unreal. Huh? That is exactly what Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, tells us about this waking state, which you now consider as absolutely real. No one can shake your belief. Right? But suppose, just cooperate with them, with the masters. Just suppose this is another dream, because you have no reason to believe that this is any more real than the dream state. You go back home and write actually why you think this waking state is more real than the dream. You won't find half a reason. This makes you spiritual. Not going through 18 chapters of the Gita, not studying Upanishads backwards and forwards, just going home today and writing down reasons why you believe the waking state is any more real than the dream. Okay? Now imagine, you've woken up, you know it's a dream, but you get a passport back into the dream exactly where you fell. Huh? You get it? You tripped. When? When your party was about to begin, the housewarming party of your magnificent mansion, and you are dressed in all your finery and jewels and this, that and the other. How would you conduct yourself? You have now stepped back into the dream with the knowledge of the waking, which means knowing fully well that what you are experiencing is unreal, it's only a dream. How will you conduct yourself? Will you get up and declare, give a speech to everyone, hey, this is only a dream, wake up man? Are you going to say that? How will you conduct yourself? Exactly the same way as you did 5 minutes before. With the same energy, the same enthusiasm, the same excitement, the same everything. But with one major difference, and that is, within you there is zero excitement. There is complete objectivity and amusement, because you know it's a dream. This is how a realized person conducts himself when he comes back into this world with us. Huh? So that is how you see Krishna. He wasn't sitting there with a glum face, this is only a dream. Huh? He participated wholeheartedly in whatever was happening around him. Huh? From the ridiculous to the sublime. Ridiculous, he helped Arjuna elope with Subhadra. Have you heard of anything more ridiculous than that for a realized person to do? Up to that subtle, sublime sermon of the Bhagavad Gita given to Arjuna at the right time, and everything in between. He saved his people from drowning. He killed Kamsa, who was an evil guy trying to kill him, evil uncle trying to kill him. So many things in life he did, but he was a picture of cheer, happiness, bliss. That is what will happen to you once you get to realization. Today you're not like that, right? Why? Because you're affected, you're dependent. You feel the pain, you say, why did so and so do this to me? Why did so and so say this to me? That's the thing. So, all you have to do is pursue the higher, just go bit by bit, step by step. And as you place your foot on the higher rung, you will get released from the lower. So you don't have to, you're free from the tyranny of having to keep up with the Joneses. You just do what you want. You don't have to follow the fashion set by someone else. Whatever you do becomes fashionable. You have no interest in anything in the world, you have no dependence, and yet you act. For what? Loka Sangra, for the well-being of the world. So it's like this. See, in our scriptures, they give a story of a village in which there was terrible rain, like in Bangalore yesterday. 10 feet of water everywhere, and the man who doesn't know how to swim manages to find a tree, he scrambles up the tree and sits on a branch. 5 minutes later, a bird comes and sits on the neighboring branch. Now, both the man and the bird are sitting on a branch of the same tree. But there is a world of difference between them. When there's heavy wind, so in the wind, when the branch swings, this man's heart sinks. Because if the branch breaks, he is gone, he is dead. On the other hand, when the branch swings, the bird sings. Because the bird is not dependent on the branch, even though the bird is sitting on the branch. The bird is not dependent on the branch. Why? Because the branch breaks and it takes off on its wings. So what the Bhagavad Gita is trying to tell us is, he's not telling us not to live in the world. He's not telling us not to enjoy the world. Of course it is there for you and me to enjoy and to live in. But don't forget to develop wings of Vedanta, so that when anything goes wrong in the world, just take off. How nice it would be. Huh? Piyush, wife gets angry with you, starts screaming, simply take off on your wings. I don't mean physically. Wings of Vedanta, internal wings that help you from getting affected, prevent you from getting affected. So then you live in the world like anyone else. They don't even realize there is a difference in you. But something about you attracts them because you're always cheerful, you're always unaffected. You always have this way of dealing with things and situations and people. And one of the most frustrating things for an evil person is to know that whatever they're doing doesn't affect you. This strength we must develop. That's all there is. Then we move now to verse 19, one of the most fabulous verses of this entire Bhagavad Gita.
तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः.
Tasmat, therefore, asakta, without attachment, satatam, constantly. Do what? Karyam karma. Do perform your obligatory duty. Samachara. Perform it well, perfectly. What an inspiring verse. One who acts without attachment attains the supreme. So this is a brilliant summary of the all these verses put together. So what must we do? Just your karyam karma, obligatory duties, not desire. And all of us are chasing after desire. How many of us are performing our obligations? How many of us are even aware of our obligations? We're all on the wrong track. Desire. So the preferences of the mind are constantly conflicting with the judgment of the intellect. The two take you in different directions until you train your mind and strengthen your intellect to slowly bring them together. So then you desire what the intellect tells you is the right thing to do, and the intellect endorses what the mind wants to do. Then there is no internal conflict. And this karyam karma must be done how often? Not once a week, not once in a lifetime. Satatam. He's not even saying daily. Satatam. Every moment of your life you must uphold what is obligatory. And how? Samyak achara. Do it perfectly. Do it wholeheartedly. Do it with all your being. As if your life depends on it. Knowing fully well that it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because the whole thing is illusory. It's like a dream, right? Look at it's so difficult to practice. You try. The next time you do something like you make your bed or you bring out the food on the table and the mat is slightly crooked. Oh, do you say, it's only a dream, leave it? Na? No. Samyak achara. It must be perfect. And it's stunning. When a person functions like that, it is stunning. You take the world by storm. And another, as if this is not bad enough, asakta, without attachment. Now when you want it to be perfect, you get attached to it. And then you want it your way. It should be this way, not that way. Why? Because this way is my way. Attached. It is, by the time you get one thing wrong, the other goes, slips. Try it. You seriously go home, go over this 19th verse and write down the points. Number 1, tasmat, therefore, means it's a logical presentation of thought arriving at an irrefutable conclusion. Karyam karma, perform your obligation. What are my obligations? What am I about to perform? What am I about to do? When you are scrolling through and you are addicted to your phone, what are you doing? Are you doing your karyam karma? So what is your karyam karma at this moment? Every moment. And then satatam, always. You say, can't I take a break? Can't I take Saturday, Sunday off from obligation? No. Satatam. Samyak achara. Do it perfectly. Then you have to find out how do I make a cup of coffee perfectly? How do I make my rotis round and not like the map of India? You can't sit there and say, what difference does it make? Anyway, the taste is the same. No. Samyak achara. And then asakta. How do you detach yourself from it? When you're doing it perfect, when you want to do it perfectly, you have to perform your obligation and you have to do it satata, and then you get detached. How do you get detached? Because you are attached to something higher. Yet you do it wholeheartedly. You see, you try doing it. Yeah. You're not thinking of the higher. While you're performing the action, you're thinking of the action. But the principle supporting it is the higher. You get it? See, when a soldier does what he has to do, why is he doing what he is doing? Not for himself. Why is he doing it? For the country. But he can't be thinking of the country while he is aiming at the enemy. He'll clean miss. Huh? So that's the trick. What is the overriding concern in your mind is the higher purpose. And that gives your actions a sense of direction. Okay? Then unit action when you perform, 100% of your mind must be on the present. Only then you can do samyak achara. Only then can you do it perfectly. And detachedly.
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
Only by action did Janaka and others reach perfection. You should also act for the well-being of the world. So with this verse, we enter the next topic, emotional motivation for action, verses 20 to 24. Now, after this brilliant exposition on action, intellectual presentation of the reasons why you should act, and the conclusion in verse 19, he finds Arjuna is not acting, not responding. So he switches tracks to the emotional. So he gives him that emotional boost. And obviously it works because in verse 25, Krishna then gives a brilliant analysis of action in the next 11 verses, 25 to 35. So let's see what he's saying here. He says, Janaka is, as you all know, Sita's father. And Arjuna and all of these guys had immense respect for Janaka. And they knew that although he was king, he was also a person of realization. So he says, only by action did Janaka and others reach perfection. Janaka was active, he was a king, he was doing all his duties as a king. So that first is devotion to a role model. When you tell someone, let's say a cricketer, no, Virat Kohli does this or did it, then he gets inspired to do the same thing because he looks up to Virat Kohli, he is a positive role model. In the same way, he is telling him Janaka and all this galaxy of realized people, they also acted or they got to that state through action. So you also act. Then the second is power of persuasion. Arjuna is basically an unselfish person. He wants to do what is good for his people. So he says, at least for Loka Sangra, act. If not for yourself, you may say you don't want the kingdom, but at least for the people. And that is a powerful motivator for an unselfish person. Loka Sangra, people will suffer if you don't act. So it's like, a visitor comes to you and let's say it's a friend of yours, he's drinking too much and everyone has tried everything to make him drink less or stop drinking. And you tell him, do you want your children to see you like this? What effect will all this have on your children? At least for the children's sake, get some maturity, responsibility. And that works. Most times it works. Like a person who is gambling, a person who is drinking too much, a person who is not looking after his health. You say your children need you badly. You can't be doing this to you. It works. So this is the power of persuasion. These two, and then there are a few more, 4 more that are coming in the next few verses. 21.
यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तदेवेतरो जनः स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते.
People follow whatever a person of excellence does. This world emulates the standards set by such a one. This is a very famous and popular concept. The verse itself, yad acharati shrestha tat eva itara janaha. Shrestha means the leader, the role model. Whatever the leader does, everybody else follows. So this is particularly true with reference to parents and children. Now what happens is, parents don't live the principles that they want to sermonize to their children. They only give lectures to their children. But children don't follow that. In fact, all of us are parents, right? We must understand one primary thing, and that is, you open your mouth, you start talking, your children are not listening to you. They switch off. Why? Because they know your lecture is repeated every day. There's a little boy I saw somewhere in the United States. His mother started talking to him. He completed the sentence because he knew what was coming. So this is the thing, children don't listen to what you're saying, but they follow, they watch very carefully how you act and they emulate that. Are you gentle? Are you rude? Are you selfish? Do you want your way all the time? This is how you exhibit your behavior, they follow that. So the message here is, don't bother giving sermons. Don't talk. Shut up and live the standard you want your children to live. You want them to be hardworking. You wake up early in the morning, work hard. They may not follow immediately, but they'll pick it up. You are lazy going to work at 12 noon and you expect the kids to wake up early. It's not going to happen. Same thing with government. There's a saying in Sanskrit, yatha raja tatha praja. Whatever be the government, others will follow. Whatever a teacher does, the students follow, not what he says. So your vision must be, to the extent you're a leader, it imposes a responsibility on you to live the standard that you want your followers to emulate. It doesn't work if you just talk. 22.
न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम् त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम् वर्त एव च कर्मणि.
I have no duty, O Partha, nor is there anything to be gained in the three worlds that has not been obtained already. Still, I continue to act. So he is giving his own example to inspire confidence in Arjuna. Arjuna understands that he is here as a person who is an enlightened soul. He has no duty. Nor is there anything to be obtained that has not been obtained. Yet I continue to act. And he sees that. He is constantly active. Krishna's life was one of continuous activity and always dedicated to the well-being of others. So he inspires confidence, and then see that is the thing. We all have vasanas. Vasanas means unmanifest desire. So as long as this fuel is there in us, we must act. There is no way out. So, but Krishna had no vasanas. Yet he was the ambassador of the Pandavas who went to the Kauravas to make peace. He protected the people. He fought evil right from childhood onwards. And unnecessarily he was in the middle of the Mahabharata war when he had no stake in it. Right? But he played his role magnificently. He entertained people, he amused people, he had fun with people, his friends. He played mischief and pranks on people. And then he was the Jagat Guru, he gave the highest wisdom. So he was a colourful personality. He's not a morose sitting there, not speaking. Next.
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः.
So here he is instilling fear among the people, in Arjuna actually. He is saying, if I don't do, then everyone else is going to follow the same thing. So there are two ways of looking at this verse. One is intellectually, which means Atman is that force that holds the whole universe together. He is a lawgiver. The two atoms of hydrogen combined with one atom of oxygen is a law, and there are no exceptions to that. Like the law of gravity. Can you suddenly see people flying in the air? No. But what if these laws did not function? What would happen? There would be complete chaos and confusion. So he is instilling fear. Therefore, you do what you... Actually, in the world, if each individual were to do exactly what he or she was designed to do, there would be complete peace in the world. Like in nature, don't you see? There is absolute peace. There is never any imbalance. Have you ever seen in nature where human beings are not interfering? The numbers of tigers, lions, deer, elephants, bees, everything is in balance, well taken care of. Don't you see that? It's only when the human being starts interfering that there's chaos. And we have interfered so much in the world. Do you know, we kill bees, right? Bees contribute to something like 70% of the food for us. And you kill bees, it's like you're chopping your own legs off. So we must respect the laws of nature and allow them to function and not interfere with them. So this is the intellectual approach. And devotional approach is Krishna says, I am doing all this. So a person who has devotion says, I surrender to Krishna and I will do what Krishna asks me to do. Krishna is saying, do your duty, I will do my duty. No? There is no analysis. And similarly, the last verse, he gives a threat. But with all these emotional emotional methods that Krishna follows, the end is that Arjuna is activated. So he gets back to his original form and Krishna continues. So for this we meet next time.